At 5 tonight, we're hearing from a physician at the center of a wrongful death lawsuit filed against our region's largest hospital. Dr. Cal Horton, who ran for Congress in 2018, is suing Novant Health New Hanover Regional Medical Center. Horton filed the suit after her father's death at the hospital. In an exclusive interview, WECT's Ava Bringord spoke with Dr. Horton today, a first since the news of the lawsuit broke by our media partners, Port City Daily. Ava, she filed the lawsuit almost 2 years after her father's death.
Yeah, that's right, Fran. And shortly after that lawsuit was filed, the State Department of Health and Human Services launched an investigation into Horton's claims. After interviews with staff, physicians, and reviews of her father, Sam Horton's medical records, the state found evidence to support her claims. The lawsuit is based on Sam Horton's treatment at Atlantic Brain and Spine in Wilmington, which contracts with Novant. The suit alleges medical malpractice and negligence by Novant, physician assistant Chase Wheeland, and Dr. Jeffrey Beecher. The results of the state health department's investigation show Novant allowed the provider to perform a procedure without the required medical privileges. Dr. Horton told me today she decided to go through with the lawsuit to bring justice to her father and hopes it doesn't happen to anyone else.
The investigation that was done does give me comfort that, those who are authorities have looked at what happened and truly substantiated what I put forth and what I knew happened, both as his caregiver at that point, as his loved one, and as a physician.
Novant Health and the physicians have denied the claims. The case is still in the pre-trial phase, set to go to court next year. For more details, you can read this story in full on our website and on your WECT News app. Ava Bringord, WECT News.